And thank you very much for making time on this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. Welcome back. Stakeholders in the tourism value chain have reiterated the call for the inclusion of women in the tourism and the arts industry. The call was made at the first Regional Congress on Women Empowerment in the Tourism Sector in Accra yesterday.
General, the United Nations World Tourism Organization at the opening called on African leaders to deepen inclusion of women in the marketing and packaging of tourism in Ghana and Africa.
We need to use and to give more role to women empowerment in the special occasion in tourism. And I'm sure that, and we talk with His Excellency, with Mr. Vice President, that tourism can create jobs, and this is the fastest way, and we all need to use this opportunity and to create as fast as we can new jobs and new opportunities for women in this case via tourism.
Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia chronicled to stakeholders how government is transforming the tourist sector to a foreign exchange earner.
The past years have been extraordinary one for the country, as we witnessed remarkable growth in international, regional, and domestic tourism. Ghana is hailed as one of Africa's economic powerhouses, blessed with rich natural resources. We have a diverse culture, an inspiring history from Gold Coast to now Ghana, and a history in governance that champions democracy and peace across the continent.
Also, First Lady of Zimbabwe, Auxilia Mnangagwa, called on African countries to prioritize the inclusion of women in tourism development.
In Zimbabwe, the government has supported the inclusion of women in the tourism sector, and they supported the creation of a Women in Tourism National Chapter. In addition, this development has been taken to the grassroots through the launch of provincial chapters of Women in Tourism.
Even though the tourism sector contributes more than 5% to the economies of Africa with 3 million jobs created each year, the efforts and potential of women have not been well acknowledged. It is against this narrative that the first Regional Congress on Women Empowerment in the tourism sector has been organized here in Accra.
Meanwhile, South African High Commissioner to Ghana, Lulu Nwana, says a 90-day visa waiver between Ghana and South Africa is yet to be completed by the end of this week. According to her, the move will enhance tourism and strengthen the relationship between both countries. Madam Nwana was speaking at the South African Tourism Stakeholders meeting held in Accra as part of a visit to the country by South African Tourism Minister.
8 countries this year signed a visa-free agreement to enable their citizens entry to South Africa. According to the South African High Commissioner to Ghana, Lulu Tengwani, Ghana is set to complete the final stage of the agreement to ensure a 90 days visa-free entry to South Africa this week before the arrival of the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa to Ghana in some few weeks. She said, the visa waiver is very important to South Africa and will also enable Ghanaians to explore her country at ease.
This week, the Ghana team is going to South Africa. So we're hoping that they will finalize this matter and make sure that by the end of this year, the matter is done, the issue is done and dusted, and we're implementing. All these countries, because it was not just Ghana, all these countries that were mentioned with Ghana now have a visa waiver from the 1st of November. So we're hoping that Ghana will come very soon as well.
The visiting South African Tourism Minister, Kubayi Ngubane, said African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement will be a great opportunity for Africans to explore the unique features of each other's country.
Tourism sector, the African Free Trade Agreement assists us in terms of ensuring that people will be moving, because as you trade between the countries, you'll be moving. So it will increase the movement of people on the continent, the business people as they do move, with the companies doing trade. It means more movement for us. So it supports the tourism. It enhances Africans being able to move across the continent and visiting the continent more. So we see it as a supporting mechanism towards our work.
Madam Lulu Tingwani commented on the industrial action by cabin crew of South African Airways that the airline has currently resumed operations. Albert Abisio's report for Joy Business.
Now, Kumasi's modern amusement center, also known as the Ratri Park, has received a facelift to meet demands of event organizers and patrons. It follows a takeover by a new management for the recreation facility, whose construction under the previous government was characterized by some controversy. My colleague Ohemin Teria visited the facility, which has become the toast of merrymakers, in our reports.
The $4.4 million park is the biggest in West Africa, inaugurated in 2015 by then-President John Dramani Mahama. Named after a Scottish colonial government anthropologist, Captain Robert Rattray, it sits on a 42,000-meter square land. A dome, swimming pool, artificial island and eatery are among other new additions to the park's components. It has become the most preferred choice for outdoor relaxation for many residents. The park's only fountain has not been working for some time now, after a USB drive containing operating software reportedly got missing. But the fountain is currently working to the admiration of many. With a new look, young and adult patrons can experience a full bouquet of recreational facilities. Isaac Owusu is Chief Executive Officer of Gold Print and Allied Services, new managers of the park.
It's a new Ratri Park now. Since we took over, we brought in other items like dome for corporate bodies, meetings, wedding reception, funeral receptions, and birthdays. So there's a dome. I think that one, you have capacity of 800, can take 800, sitting with everything. So it's there. I mean, it's very nice. And then the so-called fountain is working now. I mean, people were saying a lot of things, but now, by the grace of God, the fountain is working. There's a new ultra-modern swimming pool here, which is also good. And then from now on, we have bandstand, weekends, realization, and other things. And then there's food. I mean, local food, continental food, and everything. So right now, Ratri Park is something else.
Mr. Owusu says upgrade of the park over 2 years will see introduction of additional modern fountains and Wi-Fi.
We met few people and we discussed with them what do they think about the Ratri Park, and then they brought this idea that, well, they need swimming pool. And then after several thoughts, we think we can bring swimming pool to Ratri Park. So it's good. We don't have such swimming pool in Kumasi. I know other people have swimming pool, but this one is different from others. We are not done yet. We are bringing new fountain. In fact, it's coming very soon. People will see new fountains with new colors and everything. Right now, we have DSTV as well. You can just come and enjoy favorite European leagues, or African Cup of Nations. They will start very soon. So you can just come and sit there and enjoy everything with a very nice place. So we are bringing other things on board.
Significantly, Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly's marriage registry is now located at the Ratri Park. It means new couples can take advantage of the facility, not only good background for wedding pictures, but perhaps, more importantly, registration of their marriages. Potential patrons are thrilled by safe, affordable Ratri Park for comfort and relaxation.
At first it was boring. We just going to stand there, doing nothing. But right now you can come here, have fun. Many things have changed here, and yeah, it's so nice. It's so nice than the previous one.
It's like overseas. The renovation is a massive one. It's a good one, and everybody really likes it. Me, for instance, I really like it.
It is a lot of nature, and I have to say that I really enjoyed it, especially in a busy city like Kumasi, where there is so much things going on and so much traffic also. It is very nice to have a space of nature where you can go and then relax your nerves and free your mind.
Anytime you are in Kumasi, pass by at the Ratri Park for comfort and relaxation. From Kumasi for Joy News, Ohemin Teria reporting.
Let's turn our attention now to the financial sector. The Bank of Ghana has set the end of June 2020 for all operators of mobile money services to acquire operating license under the Payment Systems Bill. According to the central bank, this new directive, which has been communicated to some of the operators, will ensure proper regulation of digital financial services. Head of Payment Systems at the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Seto Amediku, disclosed this at the 23rd National Banking Conference in Accra on the theme Implications for Growth and Sustainability of the Financial Industry in a Digital Age.
As I said already, the long-term objective is to work towards real-time monitoring and also enhance the bank's ability to access regulated institutions' data on real-time basis. And let me add that for the mobile money operators, already we have real-time access to their platform. Each day, when you make a transfer, there's somebody sitting by a screen. He can watch all the transfers that are taking place in a second. To enhance the regulatory framework of the banking sector for effective digital financial services delivery, the bank facilitated an enactment of new legislation. Some of these laws are the Banks and Specialized Deposit Taking Institutions Act, Ghana Deposit Protection Act, the Payment System and Services Act, and let me assure Mr. Chairman that the new Payment System and Services Act is meant to bring all non-bank entities that are operating in the financial services industry under regulation, and they have to acquire or obtain a license. The deadline for acquiring a license to operate in the payment system is June 2020.
Now, banking consultant Nano Tue Champong has described as prudent a new initiative by the Bank of Ghana to improve lending to businesses. Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, announced that the initiative, which will take off immediately, will result in 2% of banks' reserves being set aside to support small-scale businesses. Nano Tue Champong tells Joy Business this could not have come at a better time.
The history of it is it originated from the banks in the sense that they said the pressure first was through the president asking them to reduce their interest rate. So the argument was that, okay, of the 400 million we have, 10% of that is kept at BOG at no interest rate. So if that is the case, give us access to some of that 10%, and then you could lend it at a lower rate. So they're releasing 2% here at BOG, will be resident here. And then when the banks evaluate projects that they feel, are bankable projects, then they will apply and the funds will be released to be lent. Now, the rate is what is yet to be determined. Then the governor said they are meeting the association on Wednesday. So the rate, we don't know what rate it will be, but definitely it will be lower than the 23% average lending rate that the banks are quoting presently.
Do I get from you that all the commercial banks are on board with this proposal? It came from them, or something more of a regulatory fiat?
No, it came from the banks. So all the 23 banks are involved.
Doesn't it again raise questions? And I come back to my question about the fact that there are several mechanisms that are already in place to ensure that rates are down for everybody in the market. Why should there be this deliberate policy? It doesn't mean that the system itself is not working.
No, the system is working, but this is part of the processes to ensure that the lending rates are lowered. Because if you recall, the governor identified some of the factors that are leading to high rate. One of them is, in fact, software cost. And software cost is not within the control of the banks, because unfortunately, our Kwame Nkrumah or Kumasi Legon is not producing the software, so they are all bought from outside. So therefore, it's not within the control of the banks to reduce software costs. So therefore, the argument is try to help them to find a way of lowering the cost of credit to customers, and this is one of them.
Some are saying that low cost of credit is a function of the economy. If inflation rates are down, if I can identify everyone in the market, if people are paying back their loans, obviously the rates will come down. Your government is not borrowing too much to crowd out small businesses and all the rest. Rates will automatically come down. Some of these things are seen as artificial measures that wouldn't last long, and sometimes it backfires.
No, it's a practical way of intervening in a free market economy. In the free market economy, when you get an externality, then you intervene to try and correct it. And what we are seeing with the high interest rate that lenders are giving, the reasons they give, we've already enumerated. And when you go through, then you see that there has to be some intervention. And so this is one of the interventions that is being put in place.
So the governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, yesterday at the Monetary Policy Committee's press conference announced a new policy rate and also noted that Ghana's gross international reserves has increased by $1.67 billion to $8.7 billion as of November. Dr. Addison said this could cover a period of 4.2 months of imports. What could be the relationship between the increase in our reserves and our growing debt numbers, and what do they mean for us? Philip Namfuri joins us for some education. Philip,
thank you very
exactly
much.
What do we mean when we say a country's foreign reserves has increased and will cover so much money?
Okay, so when we talk about gross international reserves, we're looking at what we use to finance our imports. So if the governor tells you that it's increased by 1.67 billion, the Bank of Ghana is a storehouse of all foreign exchange earnings. So if we export our gold, cocoa oil, all the money that comes in sits to the Bank of Ghana. If there's a cocoa syndicated loan, it comes into the Bank of Ghana. If there's a Eurobond, it comes in. All these feed into Bank of Ghana's reserves. And we usually measure this sometimes with the import cover. So the governor is saying we have 4.2 months of import cover. Simply what it means that over a course of 4 months, we can import, given this currency reserves that we have, or foreign exchange reserves that we have. And it's more or less like a measure of the stability of your currency. So if you have less reserves, the implications for the stability of the Ghana cedi. If we have more reserves, the implications. Because if there are more reserves, then it means that people have enough access to foreign exchange currency to import. If there's less, then you know the implications for it. There's more demand and to further depreciate the Ghana cedi. So it's more or less like a measure of the currency stability in an economy. And it's just one of those things.
Now, aside from that, even though yesterday we also learned that the country's total public debt has increased to 209 billion, government tells us that this does not include fresh borrowings. What do we mean by here?
So over the course of time, the debt issue is quite interesting. As we are taking in new debt, we are paying out old ones. So getting a right figure in real time is next to impossible, because if there are scheduled payments to be made, which we don't have access to, and there's also the level of information asymmetry when it comes to this. We don't know what's really going on. What they come and give us are numbers at the end of a certain month. Maybe even the following day, they may have paid off some of our debts. So all they are saying is that, you know what, these are our debt numbers. This is what it is right now. And sometimes when the cedi depreciates, there's an impact on servicing of external debts or debts that we've taken in foreign currency. So that might also feed into this increase in our debt numbers. It may not necessarily, like you said, be taking on actual debt. It does be the ratio between the cedi and then the foreign currency. Because
so we're not adding on per se?
From what I've seen, not necessarily, but we may be on the domestic front. It all depends. So that's what I'm saying, that you can't give a direct or accurate picture in real time.
And would the vice versa work if in case we appreciate, the cedi's value appreciates so much, does it imply that the debt levels could go down?
Not necessarily go down in the sense of the stock of it, but in terms of the ratio of payment. So if you are servicing debt in this amount of dollar and you're going to use maybe more Ghana cedis to pay that one, you will not use as much as you would if the cedi are depreciated at that point in time. I hope I've made my point.
Very well. Thank you very much, Philip, for that education. Now, moving away, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has revealed that President Akufo-Addo will cut short for work to begin on the Pologu multipurpose dam in the Upper East region, which he says will be a game changer in the region. The project comes with a 25,000 hectare irrigation scheme expected to increase rice production to 117,000 tons per year. The $750 million project will also have a powerhouse generating up to 60 megawatts of installed capacity. Dr. Baumia disclosed this at the 31st edition of the Kakube Festival at the Nandom in the Upper West Region. JoyNews Upper West Region correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
Kakube is celebrated by the chiefs and people of the Nandom traditional area to mark the end of the farming season and to show appreciation to God for his guidance and protection during the rainy season. It is also an occasion for the people to renew their relationship, exhibit and preserve the rich culture and tradition of the area. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia stated that since the NPP came to power, they have embarked on a series of programs and policies intended to make the lives of the people better.
Free SHS is taking place. We are going to bring an iron and steel factory in the Yendi Gushegu area to use our iron deposits. Teacher training allowances have been restored and nursing training allowances have been restored. Without peace, there is no development, and our government has brought peace by the grace of God to the people of Dabo. In the north, we have also created 2 additional regions in Savannah and Northeast, and we are also implementing 1 district, 1 factory programs all along the country, and every district will get its share of that.
He revealed that President Akufo-Addo will on Friday break the grounds for the construction of the Kwalugo Dam, which he said will be the game changer in the northern belt of the country.
This is a dam, the Kwalugo Dam, that we have talked about from independence, because everybody knows, if you have studied the potential of this dam, you will know that it is going to be a game changer for agriculture in the northern regions.
And that will be it for the marketplace. With the many thanks for your company. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Have a good afternoon.